Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Final score in Athens, Georgia. Alabama 24, Georgia 21. But we got to talk about it from the Georgia perspective. We got to talk about it from the Kirby Smart perspective, as Kirby Smart falls to 1-8 against Alabama during his time as the Georgia head coach. And I'll say this, we talked about why this win feels different for Bama than it did even a year ago. Well, this loss feels different for Georgia. It is crushing. It is devastating. You can see sad Kirby in the corner of your screen. So let's go ahead and talk about it from the Georgia perspective. And let me say this. I'll start this segment like I started with the Bama segment. For people who are not new to the show, who did listen to us throughout the week, I did pick Georgia to win because I bought the narrative of what Kirby Smart said. You know, Kirby Smart early in the week was asked about Alabama, and he said, you know, you're coming into this game, you're 1-7. You know, what do you make of that? Blah, 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 blah. And he said, well, how many of those games were in Athens? And for those people who do not know, the answer was 0. Alabama and Georgia had played 7 games, whatever. I'm all tripped up on, is it 1-7 or 1-8? I keep getting mixed up. I think they were 1-6 coming in, so 7 games total against Alabama. All of them were played outside of Athens. So we had 3 SEC championship games, 2 college football playoff appearances, 2 games in Tuscaloosa, so 3, 2, 5. So 7 games total, 1-6, but 0 of them were in Athens. And so when I look at this game, I sat there and said, they're going to Athens. It's personal. They don't get a lot of night games. They have a 33-game home win streak coming into this game. There's just no way that they lose. And so why this is so devastating, listen, in a 12-team college football playoff era, we know that no single individual game is crippling. Listen, I don't want to speak for Georgia fans. I do wonder if coming into the season, you sat there and you looked at September and said, can we get through September at 3-1, whether it's a win at Tennessee or a win over Bama at home? And you can't win all of them, not in this world of college football. But this just feels devastating because this one was supposed to be different. And I was thinking about this on Saturday night watching the game, is you can go back to the other 7 matchups prior to this one. And I think there was always kind of a built-in excuse, if you will, if you want to call it an excuse or a reason for Georgia to not come out on top. And this one just didn't have it. I mean, think about all the other games that these two teams have played. And by the way, I'm not saying that losing doesn't hurt, okay? But conversely, you sit there and you look at it, and early on, it's, well, Nick Saban's the GOAT. Then it's like, well, Nick Saban pulled this rabbit out of his hat, putting Tua in instead of Jalen Hurts. Then there's the weird punt situation with Justin Fields. If we don't do that, maybe we win. Clearly, look, they did beat Bama to win a national championship, so you can't take anything away from it. It makes the loss in the SEC championship game that year sting a little bit less. And so I only bring it up because it just felt like there was always a reason, always a justification. Even last year, night game, Tuscaloosa, Alabama plays out of its mind. And oh, by the way, even last year's game with Alabama and Georgia, you could argue Georgia was the better team about the final 35 plus minutes of that game. Alabama, what was it, 28-3 was the score that they jumped out to. And it was like, once you got past that first about quarter and a half, it was like Georgia was probably the better team. I think that's what also makes Saturday so frustrating, is there are no excuses. There are 0 excuses for a couple of reasons. 1, you're back at home. 2, you know how much this game meant. And 3, you knew that Alabama was reeling. And I think what the shocking part was, it was the opposite of what I just said about Alabama. It wasn't just that you lost, but there was nothing fluky about it. There was no weird injury. There wasn't some missed call late in the game. There wasn't some, should have been a targeting and it wasn't called. Like, yes, there were spots where everybody missed everything. But as I said with Bama kind of dictated this game from start to finish. And Bama kind of controlled it from start to finish. Now, it's not that Georgia didn't have a chance to win the game. It's just that Bama was really dictating the terms. And I go back to a couple things, that Caden Proctor play. Can you hold them before halftime? You fall down 14-0. You get back in the game. Can you hold them right before halftime? Can you keep them from putting in that touchdown right before the half? I know Caden Proctor ends up getting in right before the start of the third quarter. The physicality that Alabama played with, the way that Ty Simpson, it was just so disappointing because, again, it's not just that you lost, it's that I know Georgia had chances to win late, but it doesn't change the fact that I thought Alabama dictated the terms of that game. I think conversely, we have to admit, I don't know what it is. I don't know why. Kirby's got a mental block with Alabama. We can pretend, we can sit there, we can say it's not true. He does. I mean, I mentioned a few minutes ago the Justin Fields. Remember that SEC championship game? They're in complete control. He lines up Justin Fields, who at the time was his backup quarterback, as the H-back, or the protector in punt formation. They snap it to Justin Fields. It gets stuffed, and it completely changes the game. It's like, there's just something with Kirby Smart in these games. By the way, Georgia fans don't want to hear it. I don't want to dismiss a national championship game, but Alabama was down its two best wide receivers in that game, including a guy that is currently one of the best wide receivers in Jamison Williams. And then you talk about just mental block in a game. What the hell happened on that fourth down play, early to middle of the fourth quarter? Listen, I'll say this for people who don't know. I host Fox Sports Radio Saturday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern. We do the national recap show, okay? And so I bring it up only to say, one, make sure to download the podcast. It's linked in the YouTube chat. Just download it. Be a friend. But then two, also, there's this, is that I actually had the sound down because we were about to go on air. It was probably about, 10:45 Eastern time when that play happened. We're about to go on air. I see it's fourth down. I see they're trailing by 3. And I just assume they're going to line up, kick a field goal, tie the game, and then we'll see what happens over the final, whatever it is, 13, 14 minutes. I think it was actually like 9 or 10 minutes, but you get the point. They're going to kick a field goal. They're going to tie the game. And then all of a sudden, I not only see them lining up for it, I see them get stuffed by LT Overton. And I was like, what the heck just happened? And again, I'm preparing for the show. I have the game on mute. And so I went to Twitter. There's a tweet out there of me basically saying, what happened? What did I miss? And in my head, I'm like, is the Georgia kicker hurt? I triple check. Was it really fourth? Was that fourth down? They could have tied the game with 12 minutes to go, 11 minutes to go, whatever it was. And they went for it on fourth down when they could have tied the game. It makes no sense. And it just proves to me that Kirby Smart has a block when it comes to Alabama. Why? I don't know. How do you get over it? I don't know. But if you can't win this game in Athens, listen, whatever you think about Kalen DeBoer, whether you think he's going to be the next Saban and win a bunch of national championships, or whether you think he's a bum, the Husky Harsin, whatever, the bottom line is he's always going to have good teams. And by the way, I think Kalen DeBoer is great for an Alabama fan that's watching this after the fact. But I just bring it up because he's always going to have great teams. And so at some point, it's going to come down to X's. You can't have a mental block against this guy. You're going for it on fourth down with 9 minutes to go and a tie, and when you can easily tie the game. And so there's clearly a mental block. And let me say this, didn't really love Kirby Smart's comments after the game. Now, I understand it's an emotional loss, first of all. As far as the field goal is concerned, I did find the quote after the game because I wanted to look it up this morning to make sure I didn't miss anything. And basically, I'm paraphrasing here. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but he said 10 times out of 10, I would go ahead and kick that, or I would go for it on fourth down. Let me see if I can find the quote really quick. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to find the quote because this one to me is just fascinating. I'm going to find the quote here. Give me 1 second. Because I couldn't believe he said this. So, okay, this is what he said about going for it on fourth down. He said, if we gained anything, we were going for it. We were going to kick a field goal if we didn't gain anything on third down. And then this is the part. He said, there's a thing called sequencing, which I don't know if he was trying to be condescending to the reporters, but he said there's a thing called sequencing where you sequence plays to try to set up and know what you're going to go for it. So we felt like we were going to go for it if we got anything, and we did. We got it down to 4th and 1, and that play has been successful for us. We run it earlier in the night and run it for a conversion, and we missed the block you got to make, and they run through it and made a really good play. This is the part that I mentioned. He said, I do that 10 times out of 10 in terms of going for it. The decision is whether you go for tempo or not. And we felt like the tempo had been really good. Kirby, maybe that's the truth. 10 out of 10? I don't know if you're trying to justify it or what, but you have a chance to tie the game. 9 minutes to go. You're playing a legitimately awesome team. Kick the field goal. But what I think was even more frustrating was what he had to say after the game, not about that play, but about the fact that Bama now has a he's now 1-8 again, 1-7 against Bama overall. Let me see. They played 7, so this is the 8th game. So 1-8 against Bama at this point. He was asked about it. Didn't love the quote. We're going to play the sound half a second, Matt. I just want to set up. You can't really hear the question, but the question is basically, why are you having so much trouble against Alabama? Matt, you can go ahead now and play the sound again. The question is not great.
Against Alabama now, do you worry that that's maybe when you face Alabama, you're scheduled to play them again next year, that maybe starts to linger with this program?
I mean, what's everybody else's record against them? You got it? I don't either. Like I don't lose sleep over that because those games have been like championship caliber games, right? And even when we play in the regular season, they've been. I just saw 25 scouts out there. They're all there to watch these teams play. So that's not going to affect me. Like I'm going to be happy and just go lucky if our team comes back and plays well. That's what I worry about. But it's just we got to get better. And next year it won't have anything to do with this year. Thank you, guys.
I don't lose sleep at night over Bama. Well, maybe you should because, listen, I'm not like Mr. Just criticize everybody and Kirby Smart's over. I think Kirby Smart's awesome. I think he's won 2 national championships. He's maybe the face of college football right now. But you officially have a Bama problem, my man. If it's not making you lose sleep at night, you maybe should lose a little bit of sleep. And so I didn't love the conversation. I didn't love the fact that, what's everybody else? You're not holding your own standard to everybody else's. You're Georgia freaking football. You've won 2 national championships in the last, 5 seasons, whatever it is. It's not about what everybody else has done. It's not about what Mississippi State has done against them or South Carolina or Kentucky or Arkansas or LSU or whoever. You're the Georgia freaking Bulldogs. Your standard is the best of the best. And right now, you're really good against basically everybody else, but against the best team in your conference over the last 15 years, you are not living up to that standard. So if I'm a Georgia fan, I'm mad about that quote. And listen, again, to be fair, this is a 12-team playoff era. Doesn't mean that you can't come back, finish 11-1, have all the success in the world, blah, 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 whatever. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be frustrated in the moment. And I think Georgia fans have the absolute right to be furious. By the way, it doesn't get any easier for Georgia either. I mean, it maybe does next Saturday. They play Kentucky. But then after that, you got to go to Auburn. Auburn will be coming off a bye. You have Ole Miss at home, which is all of a sudden just an awesome, awesome football team. So Georgia's got to figure some things out in a hurry. But if I'm a Georgia fan, I'm mad. I want my coach to be as mad about that loss as I am. And he said, I'm not losing sleep over Bama. Well, maybe you should.